Hello, guys. Welcome to Godfrey's Story Time, and let's listen to this amazing story that I'm having for you today. Kindly let's listen.
The last voicemail he ever left me is still saved on my phone. Haven't deleted it. Can't. His voice says, "Hey, it's me. Just wanted to hear yours. Call me back when you can." He left it on a Tuesday in October, 3 days before I found the ring box. Not meant for me. His name was Daniel, and I have spent 2 years trying to figure out how to say that without my chest caving in. We grew up on the same street. I know that sounds like something from a movie, but that's the honest truth. He lived 4 houses down from me, and for most of our childhood he was just there, riding his bike past my window, throwing a football in the front yard with his older brother, always a little too loud, always a little too sure of himself. I used to roll my eyes at him. I used to think boys like Daniel were simple. I had no idea how wrong I was. I was 15 when everything changed. We were sitting on the hood of his dad's old pickup truck in the empty parking lot of the elementary school we'd both attended, the one with the broken water fountain and the faded mural of the solar system, and he turned to me and said, "You know you're my favorite person, right?" Just like that. No ceremony. No build-up. Like it was the most natural thing in the world to say. And something inside me that had been quietly waiting for years finally exhaled. We weren't a dramatic love story at first. We were gentle. We were two people who already knew each other's worst habits and bad moods and still chose to stay. He knew I cried at commercials and got mean when I was hungry. I knew he shut down instead of fighting and always needed 20 minutes alone after a hard day before he could let anyone in. We fit in the spaces of each other's flaws in a way I have never been able to replicate with anyone since. By the time we were in our 20s, everyone just assumed we would get married. His mom would set a place for me at holiday dinners before I even confirmed I was coming. My mother had quietly started tearing pictures from bridal magazines, and I had already designed the whole life in my head. The house with the wraparound porch. The dog we would name after a jazz musician. Sunday mornings with bad coffee and good music, and his hand resting on the small of my back like it belonged there. The late-night calls were my favorite part of us. Even after years of being together, even after we had long stopped needing an excuse to talk, he would still call me at midnight sometimes, just to tell me something small. A song he heard that reminded him of me. A funny thing that happened at work. Sometimes he wouldn't even say much. Just breathe on the other end of the line while I talked, and somehow that silence felt like the safest place I had ever been. I should have felt the shift coming. Looking back now, I can map it perfectly, the way you always can in hindsight, like reading a story you know the ending to. He started working later, texting back slower. The midnight calls became 11 o'clock calls, then 10, then sometimes not at all. I would watch my phone go dark and tell myself he was tired. I told myself a lot of things that year. I became very good at explaining away the things that scared me. There was a woman named Claire at his firm. He mentioned her once, casually, the way you mention anyone. Claire from work thinks we should pitch the Henderson account differently. I didn't even flinch. Why would I? I trusted him the way I trusted gravity. Without thinking, without question, because it had never once let me down. Our favorite place was a small Italian restaurant called Aldo's, 20 minutes from our apartment, with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles, and an old man who played accordion by the window on Friday nights. We had our first real date there. We celebrated every anniversary there. When Daniel got his promotion 2 years ago, we sat in our usual corner booth and he reached across the table and held both of my hands and said, "Everything good in my life has your fingerprints on it." I held that sentence in my hands like something precious. I still do. I just hold it differently now. The night I found the ring box, I wasn't snooping. I want to be clear about that. I was looking for a phone charger in the top drawer of his nightstand, the same drawer I had reached into 100 times, and my fingers found the small velvet square before my brain could prepare my heart for it. I remember going very still. I remember thinking, oh, it's finally happening. I remember smiling before I opened it. The ring was beautiful. A thin gold band with a single oval stone, delicate and simple. Exactly what I had always described when the topic came up. But tucked beneath the box, folded in half, was a receipt. And the name on the delivery address, the name he'd had it engraved for, was not mine. I sat on the edge of the bed for a long time. I don't know how long. Long enough that the sun finished setting. Long enough that the room went completely dark and I didn't reach over to turn on the light because somehow the darkness felt appropriate. When he came home, I was sitting at the kitchen table with the box in front of me. I had turned the lamp on by then. I wanted him to see my face clearly. I wanted there to be no confusion about what this moment was. He stopped in the doorway. His briefcase dropped from his hand. "Nadia," he said. Just my name. Like a confession. "Tell me," I said. My voice was surprisingly steady. "Tell me all of it. Right now. I deserve every single word." And he did. That's the part no one warns you about. That sometimes the person who breaks you is decent enough to look you in the eye while they do it. He sat across from me and he told me about Claire. How it had started slow. How he had tried to stop it. How he had told himself for months it meant nothing. How he realized one day, without wanting to, that it meant everything. "I still love you," he said, and his eyes were wet. "I need you to know that I never stopped." "Don't," I whispered. "Don't you dare say that to me right now. It's the truth." "The truth," I said slowly, "is that you were going to let me keep building a life around you while you were already building one without me." He had no answer for that. There is no answer for that. I thought I would scream. I had always imagined that if something like this ever happened, I would break things, say terrible words, become a storm. But grief, real grief, is not a storm. It is a tide. Comes in quietly and it takes everything. I stood up. I picked up the ring box and placed it very carefully back in his hand. His fingers closed around it reflexively and he looked down at it and something in his face collapsed. Something I recognized as the look of a man understanding, fully and finally, what he had destroyed. "I need you to leave," I said. "Please. Nadia. Please." He left. I stood in our kitchen for a long time after the door closed. I looked at the chair where he always sat. The coffee mug he always used. The hook by the door where his jacket had hung every evening for 3 years. Now empty. I walked to the couch and I pulled my knees to my chest and I opened my phone and I started typing a message to him. A long, raw, trembling message about every beautiful thing we had ever been, and then I stopped. I held it there, unsent, for an hour. Then I deleted it word by word. Some things are too sacred to send into silence.
This is the end of the story, and thank you for watching Godfrey's Story Time. Goodbye now.